Hi, everyone. Kelly here. And today I have Karyn Van Dam from Mastering Music. Karyn and I are going to be discussing how she was able to triple her studio revenue and enrollment in roughly 6 months. So before we go any further, Karyn, I'd love to have you introduce yourself. Can you just share a little bit more about you and your studio and what it is that you provide to students?
Sure, yeah. So I'm based in Bombay in Auckland, New Zealand, or close to Bombay. My area of expertise is singing and songwriting. So I teach that with my studio. And yeah, I've done a lot of different training in music. So I've done like musical theatre, I've done singer-songwriting as a postgraduate specialisation. In terms of my own background, I've always loved music. I was singing at primary school, intermediate school, love group singing, studied performing arts, so I'm also a trained actor as well. So yeah, I've got quite a big diverse background, and I also have had a previous business type of background as well. So very diverse, but really happy to be having my own studio now as well.
That's awesome. Now, you feel, I mean, we've got so much background here, but what do you feel really makes your teaching style or your approach to the studio more unique?
Yeah, I guess that I specialize both in voice and songwriting as well. So those who are interested actually in either singing or songwriting, it doesn't have to be both. But there are quite a lot who sing and want to write and haven't really explored writing yet. So being able to go down kind of both those tracks and I guess how they interact and talk to each other, I like to kind of, have that opportunity, bring that opportunity forward. I guess also my entire studio is online. And so something that's been really great is I've been able to bring music into households that otherwise wouldn't be able to, train in music. They might be at-risk households with really serious illnesses in the family. Or other than that, there is just so much more convenient for people now and also safe with COVID um, as well as singing being a really, for some people, really challenging and personal thing. So being able to do it from the comfort of their own home is really good. So I really enjoy bringing that aspect into people's homes, making it convenient for them. So that's something as well. And I guess the other thing that I would say makes my approach unique is that I can focus on things that really surround singing and songwriting. So things like ear training
Mm.
and being able to harmonize and all that kind of thing. And then just offer everything that comes with that, like expertise in music theory for those who want to develop that as well.
Fantastic.
So I really enjoy that. And I guess the other thing is that my approach with voice is based on voice science. So I love helping my students be able to protect their voice,
Mhm.
like produce healthy production and produce more of a predictable sound with their singing as well. So yeah, I would say that I like to help people develop confidence, artistry, and have enhanced awareness of their technique as well.
That's wonderful. And I know your students are seeing those results, right? Which is why not only are we growing the studio, but we're attracting students that are really excited to stay long term and to see those results happen now and have a more healthy production now, but also grow that confidence and maintain a really stable sound in their performance going forward. So you've got a wide array of students that you work with. I think we've got a pretty wide age range, especially, which is really cool. And the studio is totally online, which even right now, since we're a couple years post, quarantine and lockdown and everything, having the ability to be online, studios are still growing online, students are still looking for online lessons, and it's been really fun to see you build the studio that way. I do want to point out one more thing. You said you're based in Auckland, but a lot of your students are actually stateside. So you're building this from a little bit of a distance, and part of that was a scheduling desire that we wanted to have a little bit more flexibility. Would you say that most of your teaching hours right now are happening during the daytime?
Yeah, I would say probably 70% upwards of my students, maybe at least 70% are based in the United States.
Awesome.
And so that's been really helpful for scheduling, but also just wanting to have a further reach as well. Yeah, I also noticed that, there like musical theatre is much more, I guess, popular and bigger over in the United States. So I really enjoy the extra opportunities over there as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go back about 6 months to when we did start to work together on building the studio. Can you tell me a little bit about what you were doing before then, what the studio looked like at that time? What were we struggling with and what we were looking to change?
Yeah. Wow, it was so different when I think about it now. Wow. So I probably had, like, I could never even say how many students I had because it seemed like it was always fluctuating so much. Like, I would say, like, maybe up to 5 students at that particular time. I had just kind of restarted teaching about 3 months prior, and that was the first time I had started teaching online from home as well. So in addition to that, I guess I had just always been at the thought level that it was always going to be something on the side, and that was just my mentality, that I was always going to have to do extra work. So I had been doing extra work. I had all kinds of different jobs I had been doing. I had like a digital marketing startup that I was trying to work on at the same time. So yeah, it was, in terms of the studio itself, I guess it was good in some ways because I really enjoyed teaching online. But at the same time, I guess I didn't feel that, the role of the teacher was always respected, because there'd be sort of cancellations, or I guess it was the types of policies and plans I had in place. So I might have had a package where you purchase 5 lessons or 10 lessons, but then that kind of sessions might then get cancelled and they might get dragged out. And I guess I just didn't feel that was, feasible financially, let alone kind of a reliable way of working, or also not a helpful way of working for students having regular lessons. And I guess there was an option just to sort of, then my package is finished and then that's it kind of thing. There wasn't really anything robust in place to continue students on as well.
Got it. So there's a lot of instability and a lot of insecurity in what was happening month to month, even week to week with the business. And when it was on the side and it was something that you're just doing in addition to the rest of your life and your career, that was totally fine. But it was time to grow it and it was time to make it more of a concrete business. So when you started to look at doing that, what were some things that you're running into or problems that were happening when you first started trying to grow the business online, kind of around the time that we met or a little bit before?
Yeah, I mean, I guess in some ways, I didn't necessarily believe that I could grow it, to be honest. And I think that I had that desire deep down, but I kind of always convinced myself that, it was just a thing with music teachers, that it couldn't be profitable, or it couldn't be like your core job. It couldn't be the one thing that you do. So I guess with that mentality, I hadn't really thought that I could build it. So that probably didn't really help. I was also probably even potentially paying for leads at times as well.
Got it.
I was in a good position where I had actually built out a website. So I had a website. So that was a good step, and that was helpful. But still, that website being very new just means that it takes a while to get established and that kind of thing as well in the online world. Yeah, and I guess also that most of my students were not necessarily long term. It might be that everything is viewed as a per lesson price or a per lesson approach as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, that instability, but then also starting something new, and it is a big challenge. I think you're not I think, I know you're not alone. We both know you're not alone in that mentality of a lot of musicians thinking that um, there's kind of that like starving artist mentality, or that kind of stereotype that's out in the world, that you can work in a career that you love, but it will always be a side career, or you can have that career that you love, but it will just be more of a hobby. Music is not a stable, full-time, steady income, but it is possible. And you're seeing that now. So you've seen a lot of growth, which is exciting. And we'll kind of talk about that in a second and kind of run through some more of the data and what the current studio looks like. But talking about that process and how we came to be here, what first interested you in working with Outside the Box or getting in contact with me?
Yeah, I think I came across you in a video, I think on Facebook, but you had, I think you were a guest and you were being interviewed yourself on a podcast, and just the ideas and the confidence that you had in the ideas of music teaching and how it could be grown and how you could operate your own studio, do things your own unique way. And you had so much confidence and knowledge that just came across instantly. And it just clicked. It clicked so much. It was like, I think this is what I've been looking for my whole life, deep down, So, yeah, that is, uh, it was just, I guess, bringing to mind that, oh, wow, it is actually possible. It is possible. And this lady really knows her stuff. She's been through it and done it herself. And, I could just tell by the, like the innovative ideas that you had been discussing about asynchronous and things like that. So, yeah, I was just instantly, bells went off and like everything, light bulbs were like, wow. And then, so I think I kind of dug a bit more into you. And then what was then further piqued my interest was I saw some of your interviews, like you're interviewing me now, but one of them was Sean, who's another client of yours, and he's from Australia. So, me being in New Zealand, he's my neighboring country in Australia. And I guess because the US was so far away, I always thought, us as an island nation in New Zealand, our population is like 5-6 million. And so we sort of have imposter syndrome, but we tend to kind of have it tenfold in some ways, because of where we're from. But because I saw someone from Australia, I was like, wow, he's done it. He's completely transformed his life from where he was, and he's teaching. So if he can do it and he's from Australia, then I can do it. And that just kind of pushed me over the edge to be like, right. So and then next thing I know, you reached out. So I was like, perfect. So yeah, it all worked out really well. And I'm just so happy. I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so happy I came across you.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad too. It's been so much fun working with you, and we've seen so much growth, and the studio has just, especially in the last couple months, has really blossomed. And I want to talk about a little bit now what the studio looks like. So you teach private lessons. You also have a lot of other things up your sleeve for your students, and a lot of other cool offers have happened, especially, I'm going to say this summer. Of course, it's been the US summer, but winter for you in New Zealand. But in the last couple months, a lot of really cool things have happened. So you've run some workshops, some group classes, some opportunities for students to get some kind of like free introductory information from you too. What have you been working on, or what's been really successful in your studio in the last few months?
Yeah, I think one of the most successful things was running an online singing camp, which is in the US summer. Right now, and where I am, it's winter, but the school years are structured so differently. So in the US, with summer camps, yeah, I did a 2-week online camp, and it was really successful. The kids loved it. So it was for ages around 8 to 12. So typically maybe a little bit younger than I usually work with, although I work with a few beginners around age 8 upwards. But yeah, it was just really successful, and just so amazing to see the kids enjoy themselves as well. And many of those kids were in the in a boat where they may have a family member who's really at risk from COVID. So being able to bring that again into, especially during summer, bring that enjoyment and kind of helping with learning and skill and just helpful things for their singing futures is amazing. And I mean, several of those students are either now signed up as individual students or looking to shortly. So that was amazing. I would have never ever have dreamed of even doing group classes or workshops or anything beforehand. I'd never done that. So I'm just, so happy. I've even been approached by public libraries. So I've been doing workshops for them, and I've been working with teachers who have approached me and helping them develop as well. So it's been really awesome.
Not only do you have this worldwide studio, but I think what's so cool is we started through social media, right? Like initially, that was the first kind of project that we worked on. And now you've got these real connections with people that are sending you students and sending you referrals and hosting workshops with you and co-hosting workshops. It's not that social media isn't a long-term strategy. We can use it long-term, but it's so repetitive, right? Like every time you launch a new program or every time you have an opening for a student, you're going back to social media and reposting and trying to engage in groups again. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort and time and energy. So it's a great starting point, right? It's kind of our short-term plan to get the ball rolling. But now we're in this long-term growth and success where even from a distance, even though you're not in the same country, you can be working with these real physical institutions and teachers and experts in that area that have direct access to your ideal students. So some of these are for younger students, right? Some of these are maybe elementary, middle school, and high school teachers, but the libraries, it's now not just geared towards individual students anymore. We're also including activities and things for adults. So we've got inbound leads coming, all this good momentum, but it's because you've really laid that groundwork over time, initial kind of, social media burst of activity energy, and now this long-term growth and success. And it's important for the long-term success of the studio. I know we've got in the studio right now, I think we said right before we started recording the interview, we were kind of talking about the studio numbers. I think we said about 15 actively enrolled students, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Are any of those students still on that kind of sporadic package style, or are these students that are paying in a different system now and are a little bit more regular?
Oh, there are a few locally who I'm still kind of looking at changing the system, but I'm doing that on a graduated basis. As new students come in, then they'll be going on a monthly system, which is another thing I never did before as well, by the way. Now that students pay in advance monthly, the majority of the time, apart from some that I'm still kind of upgrading, which are local, but all new students that come on board are in that completely different flat monthly rate tuition. So
Got it. I think that's
which
an
is just
important
a
point
life changer.
too. Well, I think it's an important point too that we didn't do that overnight, right? We didn't take those students that we were already working with, that we liked, that we enjoyed, and just completely turned their world upside down and changed all the systems on them to scare them away, right? We've kind of included them in these changes, but it's been a little bit slower. We want them to feel comfortable. We want them to stay. We like working with them. We're not trying to make massive changes and blow the whole thing up or, kind of start the studio from scratch, right? We're just trying to add to what you're doing. And I think that's a really important point for someone who maybe has a more established studio or has some students like you did before we started working together. We want those students to stay happy too. It's not that we're going to completely change the entire program and they're going to, be miserable or feel unappreciated.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's good.
Good. Now, enrollment's grown, which obviously means that our revenue has grown. In the last 6 months, rough estimate about how much new revenue have you collected from newly enrolled students?
Yeah. Oh, I almost forget. I think was it maybe around 8,000? I think 8,000.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think we've said, we're kind of averaging somewhere between 1.5 to 2,000 a month in new revenue too, that's coming into the studio now. So we've taken what we had before and it's grown significantly. but your teaching time has not grown as much. And I'm kind of looking at the numbers that you sent me right now. We were teaching about 2.5 to 3.5, but kind of averaging about 2 hours a week. We've tripled our revenue and um, our our enrollment in the studio, and things have grown, but we're still only teaching about 6 to 8 hours a week. And now we've got this
Yeah,
really sustainable income. So it's not anything, massively large. And I also want to point out that there's a conversion here too, right? That this is all in US dollars, but locally in your area, there is a conversion where the US dollar at present, as of today, when I'm recording this, is I
yeah,
think about 20 to 30% higher.
roughly, yeah.
Roughly.
It's been
Okay.
changing a lot lately, actually. So just fluctuating a lot. But
Yeah,
oh, actually,
absolutely.
so the dollar amounts are all in New Zealand dollars
Okay.
that I've provided.
Awesome.
So yeah, which I thought it was easier for me to do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But this is
yeah,
good too, because we've got, again, students that are in an area where the conversion is going to be in your favor, right? Where we can charge
absolutely.
them their local currency, and then as it's converting back to you, we are making a higher income than if we were only working with local students, correct?
Correct, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. That's a big advantage for online studios too, just as kind of a built-in advantage is if you want to be teaching students that aren't in your local area, we certainly can be finding them online and through organic marketing as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So the business has grown. This is all wonderful, but you said it's been really life-changing. So outside of just the money and the business growth, what other areas of your life do you feel have been impacted by these changes?
Yeah, oh gosh, I don't know where to start, honestly. Just so much. I think the confidence that I've had in myself as
Mm,
well. And I know that earlier you kind of mentioned, that that as music, as being a career, is always kind of viewed as perhaps less important or less worthwhile. It's really important to me to really push that because,
mm,
like to push the benefit of it. And I find it really inspiring to be able to set that standard and just, be part of raising that bar for generations to come who want a creative career, who want to act, who want to do music, anything creative that, you know, don't don't take on board anything people say about the whole starving artist thing. Just go for it because it's possible you can make it happen. And you know, for me to actually grow out of that mentality that I mentioned earlier, I was completely in that mentality. That's all I knew, it's all I believed. And, also music teachers in New Zealand have a very different structure. So they
mm,
have 4 school terms with younger people. They have 4 school terms throughout the year with 2-week breaks and then a larger break through sort of December through to February. So there are kind of many weeks or times, particularly around the Christmas period, where income is more unpredictable, or teachers have to think and act and work differently, or maybe even think about getting different, extra work.
mm.
So I guess that side of things, having predictable monthly income,
Yeah.
is amazing. And um, even though it's been like a huge journey changing everything, I still feel like it's only the start. Like I feel like I've got so many ideas and so much more to do. So just being able to have this pathway that you've enabled for not only me, but heaps of other teachers, is just, the possibilities have just grown. And I've learned so much about, I would even consider myself to be a really outgoing person. And probably a lot of people I know would say that as well. But even if you're an outgoing person, you can still realize like the limitations of your own
Mm.
mindset. And, now I'm not afraid to do anything. I'll go and be a guest instructor in a teacher's class on the other side of the world, except it's online. But and that used to scare me so much, and now it just doesn't phase me at all. And I get approached to do things like that. So it just feels like the sky's the limit. I'm not afraid to do anything. I have so much more confidence. I look at things in so much more of a positive light, and it just completely changes and opens up so many opportunities. and also for my, the lifestyle that I want to create for myself, because I've worked so hard, over my time. I've kind of been working full time and studying at the same time throughout many parts of my life as well. And so I kind of feel like I deserve to kind of dictate the way that I want to work and have my own business. And it's really important to me to have my own creative time, not only for myself, but also for the benefit of my students, and keeping myself kind of centered and satisfied as well. And just, having that time and space to develop. And I mean, also, I'm able to travel if I want to. I can work from anywhere that I have a decent internet connection. I can work from, which is really awesome, really awesome.
Gives you a lot of flexibility in the studio too. Not only for the students that you have, I mean, it's flexible for them, right? That they're online and they don't have to be traveling to someone, or if it's something like a high-risk household, they are home in a safe environment. But then at the same time, flexible for you that you can be traveling and you don't have to be in one stable place the entire time. It makes a big difference in the quality of your life, which is outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess just knowing that I'm not having to I'm not having to try and run another agency or try and chase extra work. Very much like I can see that I'm going to be still growing, and this is going to be this is my thing, this is my main job. It's what I want to do and what I'm really passionate about. And being able to have time to actually work on new and innovative programs and things to help my students is really, it just feels really rewarding to be able to do that.
Awesome.
And just bring them more opportunities, and try new things out. I'm not afraid to try new things out as well. So,
and we are trying new things. We got a lot of new things coming in the pipeline too. I know we're working on some songwriting projects for your students and creating some other opportunities for current students and new students to learn some of these skills in a really flexible way. So I'm excited to see that, which will be really fun too. With all of the things that are happening right now and all the things that we've learned, and kind of reflecting back over the work that's happened in the last 6 months or so. If someone listening right now is trying to evaluate whether this is a good fit for them, what are some things that you think they should know or consider, or who do you think this program is a really good fit for?
I would say any music teacher who really enjoys what they do, and perhaps wants to, rather than necessarily even working for another music teaching agency, company, or under another umbrella, and maybe not feeling satisfied that you're not able to do things your own way, or have your own curriculum, or the curriculum that you want to use. Or, if you're really passionate about it, and you're willing to put in the work to develop your studio, anyone that fits that bill, you would not regret it at all. And it's just, even having an online studio is limiting. So, because in some ways it's been successful, but if you are a person that also has in-person lessons, you would have the opportunity to grow even that much faster. So regardless of whether you have only online or both, it's still an amazing option as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm really glad that so much growth has happened for you. I'm so excited to see what's coming next and what is happening in your studio, because there's way more to come, as we've kind of hinted at. So let's say someone wanted to kind of check in and see what you're working on and learn a little bit more about you or your studio. Where could they find you on the internet?
They could find me, probably my website is the easiest, which is Mastering Music, all in one word, masteringmusic.co.
Awesome.
And from there you can see Facebook as well.
Awesome.
.co. Yeah.
Perfect.
A lot of people are like, is there anything on the end of that? But no, there's not.
And mastering music is such a good business name. It's certainly what you help your students do and gain a lot of confidence. So it's been wonderful to work with you, Karyn. It's so exciting to see the studio continue to grow and the success that your students are getting out of working with you. So thank you again for the time today, for sharing so much with the people that are listening to this right now and giving so much great advice. Any parting thoughts? One last piece of advice, maybe for someone that's thinking about this right now or wants to have a studio. If there's one more thing, what would you tell them before we end for today?
One more thing. I would say don't hold back or delay it,
Mm,
because the longer you do that, the more that you're going to miss out on,
mm,
the more that you really are going to miss out on. You're going to be able to find your pathway and really niche down, so even having help to do that, you've got a whole guide set for you, and all you need to do is actually have a chat. Just have a chat and see what's possible, but don't hold back, because the sooner you do it, the sooner you can change your whole outlook in your life as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Fantastic advice, not just for this, but I think in so many other areas of everyone's lives. It's so much like the first step is getting started, right? The first step is making the first step. So you're absolutely right. Thank you again for sharing. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor and a joy to work with you. So proud of you and all the work that you've done so far. So much more to come. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this. For those of you that took the moment to watch, we really appreciate it. And we will talk to you all soon.
Thank you.